The grand halls of the Virilan Empire were quiet, but tension filled the air. Bright banners of silver and violet hung from the high ceilings, waving gently as the cold wind from the mountain planet swirled in through the windows. Soldiers stood, still as statues. Advisors whispered nervously, and in the center of the room, Princess Yalara stood before her father, the Emperor, with wide, stunned eyes. "What did you just say?" she asked, her voice shaking. The Emperor looked tired. Wrinkles around his dark purple eyes showed the weight of leadership. He didn't speak harshly. Instead, his voice was calm and low. "To protect our people, we must form an alliance with the humans. A marriage agreement has already been made." Yalara's hands clenched. "You mean to marry me to a human?" Her voice rose, echoing across the hall. "They are ruthless. They are destroyers. That is what you want for your daughter?" A few gasps echoed from the guards, but no one dared interrupt. "I want peace," the Emperor replied simply. "Their fleet is powerful. Our resources are stretched thin. You know this. War will only bring ruin. This marriage is a bridge, it is survival." Yalara turned away, her heart pounding. Since she was a child, she had heard stories about humans, how they invaded, how they fought like wild beasts, how they showed no mercy in battle. Her tutors warned her, never trust a human's smile. Behind it, there are always weapons. "I won't do it," she whispered. "I can't." "You will meet him first," the Emperor said. "Speak with him, then choose." That surprised her. "Choose?" "Yes," the Emperor nodded. "If you truly believe he is unworthy after you meet, then we will find another way." It was more freedom than she expected, but it didn't ease her worry. 2 days later, Princess Yalara boarded the royal cruiser. Her guards surrounded her, and the ship lifted into the sky. Their destination was Tryon, a neutral moon used for peace talks between alien civilizations. It was beautiful, covered in white plains, crystal lakes, and tall silver trees. A place where enemies were expected to be civil. A place where violence was forbidden. Still, Yalara didn't feel safe. Inside her private chamber, she paced back and forth. Her ceremonial robes were made of layered silk, dark green with silver threads, but she couldn't feel proud wearing them. Her hair was tied, in long braids, and jewels hung from her ears, but they felt heavy, like chains. She opened a small screen showing a picture of the human she was to meet, Cole, a soldier from Earth. He looked calm in the image. Brown hair, steady eyes. Not scary at all. But pictures meant nothing. Monsters didn't always show their teeth. She turned off the screen. "I won't let him control me," she whispered. "If he tries anything, I will walk away." The landing on Tryon was smooth. The sky was soft blue, and the twin suns hung low on the horizon. As Yalara stepped out of the ship, she saw a small group waiting in the garden ahead. Her eyes quickly found the human. He stood still, arms behind his back, wearing a simple dark uniform. He had no weapons, no armor, no helmet, just himself. The man named Cole. He watched her calmly, then did something unexpected. He bowed. Deeply. Yalara froze. Her guards stiffened. Then he spoke. "Princess Yalara, it is an honor to meet you." His voice was low but not rough, firm but respectful. Yalara narrowed her eyes. "Are you trying to trick me with kindness, human?" Cole straightened. He didn't smile in mockery, just gave a small, polite nod. "No trick. I came to meet the one I may share a future with. I wanted to show respect." His words caught her off guard. Most of the humans she had seen in reports looked loud, proud, and aggressive. This one didn't. She looked away, trying not to show her confusion. "Very well. I will speak with you, but do not expect me to be pleased." "I don't expect anything," he said simply. Later that evening, Yalara sat on the edge of a raised garden platform, watching the quiet lake ripple in the breeze. She was alone, thinking, trying to understand what she had seen. Cole had not once made her feel small. He hadn't stared at her like some prize. He hadn't bragged about his strength or pushed his own customs. Instead, he had asked about her culture. He had listened. He had even laughed softly when she made a dry comment about royal meals tasting like boiled sand. And when her servant had dropped a tray by accident, he had helped clean it without a word of complaint. Yalara didn't want to admit it, but he seemed different. Why? She whispered to herself. Why are you not the monster I expected? The stars were rising now, reflecting in the calm waters. For the first time since the arrangement was announced, she felt less afraid. Still, unsure, still guarded, but not terrified. Not anymore. The next morning on Tryon was quiet. The suns rose slowly, casting soft golden light over the gardens and marble pathways. The air was cool, and a gentle wind moved the leaves of the silver trees. Princess Yalara stood on a balcony, staring at the horizon. Her robe was a lighter shade today, soft blue with silver lines, and her face was calm, but her thoughts were storming inside. A message had arrived. The human, Cole, had asked for a walk through the gardens. He wanted to speak with her alone, without guards, without formality. Yalara didn't answer right away. She sat down and closed her eyes. Alone with a human? She whispered. Why does that idea no longer scare me like it did before? She looked up and finally replied, I will meet him. In the central garden where the water paths ran beside stone benches, Cole stood waiting. He wore the same dark uniform as before, clean and simple. No weapons, no show of power. When Yalara approached, he gave a small nod. Thank you for coming. She stopped at a safe distance and folded her arms. Why did you want to meet without guards? I wanted you to see me, he said. Just a man, not a soldier, not a threat. Yalara raised an eyebrow. You are from Earth's army, are you not? A warrior? Yes, he said honestly. But warriors can also want peace. They began walking slowly beside a line of blue flowers. For a while no one spoke, just the sound of wind and soft footsteps. Then Yalara asked, Why did you agree to this marriage? Cole looked up at the twin sons. My people wanted a stronger connection with yours. They asked for a volunteer. I said yes. She glanced at him. Why you? I've seen war, he said. I've seen what happens when leaders don't try to understand each other. I thought maybe this time we could do better. His answer was unexpected. Not cold, not fake, honest. Yalara stopped walking. But you don't even know me. I could be cruel. I could be impossible. He looked into her eyes, steady and calm. Then I'd try to learn who you are. No one should be forced to live in fear. For a moment she didn't speak. His words touched something deep inside. Her whole life she had been told to hide her fears, to never look weak. And here was a human, called Ruthless by her people, speaking of understanding. They continued walking. Cole pointed toward a pond where small glowing fish swam near the surface. On Earth, I used to sit by lakes like this with my sister. She liked silence more than cities. Yalara gave a small smile. I like silence too. It's the only time my thoughts feel calm. She was surprised she said that out loud. He smiled back, not laughing at her, just listening. They sat on a stone bench beside the pond. A gentle breeze brushed their hair. For the first time, the silence between them didn't feel heavy. It felt peaceful. Back home, Yalara said quietly, they told me humans are violent, that you destroy everything you touch. Cole nodded slowly. Some of us have made mistakes, but not all humans are the same, just like not all virelans are perfect. She turned to him curious. You really believe peace is possible? I believe it's worth trying, he said. Even if it's hard, even if we're afraid. For the first time, Yalara truly looked at him, not just as a human, not just as a possible husband, but as someone with his own fears. his own hopes. And he was not what she expected. He wasn't rude. He wasn't arrogant. He was just human. And later that evening, Yalara stood alone in her private room looking out over the garden from her window. She saw Cole in the distance. He was helping a small Virellan child who had dropped her basket of fruit. He bent down, helped her pick up the pieces, and gave her a gentle pat on the head. Then he smiled and walked away. No one else saw it. No cameras. No audience. Yalara's hand touched the window glass as she watched. "Why are you like this?" she asked the air. Suddenly, there was a soft knock at her door. She turned. Her guard stepped in and bowed. "Princess, the human has sent something for you." He handed her a small folded paper, a message. She opened it. "Thank you for today. I hope we can talk again soon. No pressure, just peace. Cole, no demands, no orders, just a line of calm words." Yalara sat down on her bed, holding the paper. For most of her life she had feared humans. Now, she was curious, very curious. The next day on Tryon was warm and peaceful. The twin suns moved higher in the sky, casting soft light over the garden paths. Birds flew between the trees, singing strange and beautiful songs. The air smelled like blooming flowers and fresh water. "Princess," Yalara walked slowly through the quiet garden, thinking deeply. She wore a simple white gown today. No royal jewels, no crown. She didn't feel like a princess. She felt like a person, trying to understand something new, something unexpected, something human. She turned a corner and saw Cole sitting alone near the crystal pond. He didn't notice her at first. He was feeding crumbs to a pair of small animal creatures that looked like fluffy red squirrels with wings. She stopped and watched. He was smiling, not because someone was watching, but because he enjoyed the moment. The creatures climbed over, his arm trusting him. Yalara stepped forward. "You seem to have made new friends." Cole looked up, surprised but happy. "They like snacks," he said with a smile. "I think they come for the food more than me." Yalara sat on the nearby stone bench. "Still, they trust you. That says something." There was a pause. The birds chirped overhead. Cole glanced at her. "I wasn't sure you'd come today." She looked at the sky. "I wasn't sure either. But I wanted to speak with you again." He nodded gently. "I'm glad." They sat quietly for a moment before Yalara asked, "What was Earth like before all these politics and talks of marriage?" Cole thought for a second. "Busy, loud, but also full of life. There are oceans that stretch for days, forests taller than buildings, and people who care deeply about their families." Yalara listened closely. "And what about your family?" His smile faded just a little. "My sister passed away a few years ago. She was the one who believed in peace more than anyone." "I'm sorry," Yalara said softly. He nodded. "Thank you. She always said that one person doing the right thing could change everything." Yalara looked down at her hands. "I never thought I'd find something in common with a human, but I know how it feels to lose someone." They didn't need to say more. Sometimes silence carried more meaning than words. Later, Cole invited her to a different part of the garden, a small glass room filled with plants and lights. Inside were flowers from different worlds. Some floated in the air, some glowed softly, others moved when touched. "I thought you might like this," Cole said. "It's a place of peace." Yalara looked around with wonder. "It's beautiful." He walked beside her as they explored the room. "Some of these flowers only bloom when they feel calm energy." Yalara raised her eyebrow. "You believe plants feel energy?" "Maybe not like we do," he replied, "but they react to how we treat them, just like people." They stood in front of a white-blue flower that hadn't opened yet. Cole stepped forward and slowly placed his hand near it, not touching, just offering warmth. The flower trembled and bloomed. Yalara gasped softly. "You've done this before." He smiled. "Once or twice. She tried the same. Carefully, she lifted her hand near another flower. At first, nothing happened. She frowned. Maybe it doesn't like me. Cole chuckled. Give it time. Then, slowly, it opened. Yalara's eyes lit up. I did it. See? Cole said. You just had to let it trust you. She looked at him with new eyes. Maybe trust wasn't something to fear. Maybe it was something to build together. As they walked outside again, the evening light turned golden. A soft breeze moved through the trees and the air grew cooler. Yalara stopped near a tall tree with long silver leaves. There's something I must ask. Cole turned to face her. Go ahead. Why haven't you tried to impress me? She asked. You don't boast. You don't act like you're better. Most suitors from other worlds always try to prove their strength. He looked thoughtful. Because I'm not here to win a contest. I'm here to see if we can be something more than strangers in an agreement. Yalara tilted her head. You're not like the stories say. I'm just me, he said with a small shrug. I don't want you to fear me. I want you to know me. She took a deep breath. And I want to know you. That moment felt different, not as a princess and a soldier, not as alien and human, just two people, learning, sharing, hoping. That night, Yalara stood on her balcony, watching the stars. She held the note Cole had written the day before in one hand. In the other, she held a small crystal flower he had given her from the garden, a rare bloom that stayed open only when warmed by kindness. She touched the petals gently. She had always believed humans were monsters in stories. But now, the stories seemed wrong. This human had shown her more kindness than most nobles she had known her entire life. She looked at the stars and whispered to herself, I was afraid because I didn't understand, but now, I want to understand more. The morning on Tryon started peacefully. Light clouds moved slowly across the sky, and the garden was filled with the songs of small glowing birds. The suns were gentle, and the air smelled fresh after a soft night rain. Princess Yalara walked through the trees alone, her thoughts deep and quiet. Each step brought her closer to something she couldn't name. She held the small crystal flower in her hand, the one Cole had given her. It still glowed faintly in her palm, reacting to her warmth. She had spent 3 days on Tryon now, meeting with Cole, and each day her fear of him faded a little more. His kindness didn't seem fake. His calm wasn't weakness. He didn't try to control her. He only spoke the truth, and that truth had started to reach her heart. She sat on a stone bench and looked at the reflection of the twin suns in the pond. I came here ready to say no, she whispered to herself, but now I'm not sure what I feel. Just then, one of her royal guards rushed into the garden, breathing fast. Princess, you must return to your ship immediately, he said. There has been an attack. Yalara stood quickly. Where? What happened? The guard looked around nervously. A group of alien extremists, against the human alliance. They tried to harm your potential mate, the human soldier. Cole. Her heart skipped. Is he hurt? She asked. He survived. But it's better if you stay away, at least until we know it's safe. But Yalara had already started, walking toward the central path. Her steps grew faster, her mind raced. She didn't care about danger. She needed to see him. Cole sat on the steps outside the meeting hall, breathing slowly. His shirt was torn on the side, and there was a bruise on his cheek. But he was alive, calm, quiet. He looked up when Yalara arrived. Their eyes met. Without thinking, she ran to him. Are you all right? He nodded slowly. I'm fine. They weren't professionals. Just angry, scared. Why didn't you fight back harder? She asked, kneeling beside him. He smiled weakly. Because hurting them wouldn't fix anything. I defended myself, but I didn't want to prove their fears true. I didn't come here as an enemy. Yalara looked at him closely. His breathing was steady. His eyes were tired but gentle. You had every reason to be angry, she said. I was, he admitted. But I remembered what you said, that you were afraid of me, and I didn't want to give you a reason to fear again. Her heart ached. He had been attacked, and yet he still thought about her feelings. He still showed control, strength, restraint. She stood slowly and looked at the guards nearby. Leave us, she said. The guards obeyed, moving back silently. Yalara turned back to Cole. I was told humans were cruel, that you always choose violence, but you just proved the opposite. He shrugged. Violence doesn't make someone strong. Mercy does. She stared at him for a long time. I don't think I ever truly knew what strength looked like, until now. Cole gave a small smile. Then maybe this alliance has already started working. Later that evening, they met again in the quiet garden, far from the hall. This time, there were no guards, no advisors, just the two of them, walking among the trees. I want to tell you something, Yalara said as they walked. Cole looked at her gently. Go ahead. When I first saw your picture, I promised myself I would never let a human touch my life. I believed every story about your people being monsters. She paused. But after these days, I've started seeing things differently. Cole stopped walking. And how do you see me now? She turned toward him. As someone who listens, someone who protects but doesn't hurt, someone who makes me feel safe without taking my freedom. A soft wind passed between them. Cole reached into his jacket and took out a small object. It was a polished stone, dark with a silver pattern across it. On Earth, we give stones like this to people. We trust, it's old tradition. From mountain tribes, Yalara took the stone carefully in her hands. It's warm, she whispered. It reacts to touch, Cole said. Just like the flower you gave me. They stood close now. Not too close, but close enough to feel each other's presence. No, one asked me what I wanted, she said softly. But now I know. I don't want peace through force, I want peace through understanding. Cole nodded. So do I, she smiled gently. Then maybe this arrangement doesn't have to be a burden. Maybe it can be a beginning. For the first time, her words came without fear, not as duty, but choice. That night, the stars over Tryon were bright. The moons cast soft light over the lakes and trees. Yalara stood on her balcony once again, the silver stone in her hand, the crystal flower nearby. Her heart no longer raced from fear. It beat with something new. Hope. She whispered into the night, I no longer fear the human, I want to walk beside him. And somewhere in a quiet room, Cole looked at the same stars and whispered back, and I want to walk beside her. The day of the wedding arrived. The skies above Tryon were clear and bright. The twin suns shone softly, casting gentle light over the gathered crowd. Aliens from many worlds had come to watch, some curious, some doubtful, some hopeful. Princess, Yalara stood in her ceremonial dress, a flowing robe of soft white silk trimmed with silver. Her hair was braided neatly, and a delicate crown rested lightly on her head. But inside, she was calm, no longer afraid, no longer unsure. Beside her stood Cole, dressed simply but proudly in a human suit made of dark fabric and silver buttons. He looked at her with steady eyes full of respect and kindness. The ceremony began with the voices of leaders from both worlds speaking of peace and unity. But when it was time for the vows, something unexpected happened. Yalara stepped forward and spoke first, her voice clear and steady. I was told to marry a ruthless man, she said softly. I was told to fear humans, to see them as monsters, but I was wrong. Because I met one man who showed me kindness, patience, and respect. A man who did not demand my love, but earned it. She turned to look at Cole. I choose to marry you. Not because I was forced, but because I want to walk beside you. Together as equals, together as friends, together as partners. A hush fell over the crowd. Cole smiled warmly and took her hands gently. Princess Yalara, I never wanted to force anything upon you. I wanted only to show who I am. Just a man who hopes for peace and friendship between our worlds. I promise to stand with you, respect you, and honor you, always. The vows were simple, but full of meaning. They were promises of trust, respect, and hope. When the ceremony ended, the crowd cheered. Aliens and humans alike felt the power of the moment, the promise of something new, something better. Later, under the light of the twin moons, Yalara and Cole stood alone in the garden where they had first walked together. The crystal flower still glowed faintly on the stone bench nearby. Yalara looked at Cole and smiled softly. I was scared to marry a human, but now I see. You are not the ruthless warrior I feared. You are the man who taught me how to trust. Cole took her hand gently in his. And you taught me that strength is not in fighting, but in kindness and understanding. They stood quietly for a moment, the night around them peaceful and still. Then Yalara spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Can I ask you something? Anything, he replied. Why did you never give up on me? Even when I pushed you away, even when I was afraid? Cole looked into her eyes with honest warmth. Because I saw the real you. Not the princess the world told me to fear, but a person who deserves to be loved and respected. I believed in you before you believed in yourself. Yalara's eyes shone with tears, not of sadness but of joy. She stepped closer and gently touched his face. Thank you for seeing me. He smiled, taking her hand and holding it close. Thank you for trusting me. Days passed. The alliance between humans and Virulons grew stronger. Trade and culture began to flow between the two worlds. People whispered about the brave princess who chose a human and the calm soldier who won her heart. Yalara and Cole worked together to build a future, not just for themselves, but for all who wished for peace. They walked through the gardens often, sometimes in silence, sometimes sharing stories from their worlds. Their bond grew, not from duty, but from choice and respect. And every night under the stars, Yalara kept the crystal flower on her windowsill, a symbol of a trust that had bloomed against fear and doubt.